Hello and welcome. A very good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. If you can hear me and see the three of us on screen, could you please respond with a yes in the chat box so that we know that you're here and you're listening? A very good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me and see us on your screens. If you can you please respond with a yes in the chat box? Thank you, Karthik. Atul, thank you. Arushi, Nidhi, thank you, guys. All right, so a lot of people responding with a yes. Hello, Prince. Perfect. Lots of yeses pouring in. They're just flying past now. I tell you the speed of these guys responding on the chat, that's like stellar speed. All right, so welcome everyone to this very interactive session that we're going to have today. Just to set the context for our conversation forward, like every time, this is a tech-based platform, and whenever there is tech, there's bound to be some or the other issue. So in case the audio or the video goes off or there's some kind of lag, please don't worry, it's all going to be fine. There's a top button on your screen, which is a red colored button which says reconnect. Just press on that or refresh your screen and everything will be fine. In case you want to be able to ask your questions, to ask and respond to the questions that we ask you, please utilize the chat box option. It's a fantastic tool to be able to ask your questions and engage in healthy discussions and conversations with all the participants and the panelists. COVID literally has changed the world. I think all of us can agree on that fact that whether it's India or it's Canada or it's another part of the world, realities today and the realities before COVID and the realities after COVID, they are going to be very, very, very different. They are unprecedented in the manner that we don't know how we're going to deal with it. We have never encountered such a situation. And whenever we find ourselves in a situation wherein we have never encountered anything before, that calls for rapid innovation, that calls for disruption, and that calls for collective channelized efforts so that our functions, our businesses, our education, etc., can continue. One of the worst affected sectors with the COVID reality is that of education, wherein millions of students across the country have, all right, so a couple of you have been saying that you can't hear and see. In case you can't see or hear, please click on the start broadcast button or click reconnect and you would be able to hear and see us. So Chirag and Chitra, you could please request you to please click on reconnect and everything will be fine. So as I was saying, that education happens to be one of the worst hit sectors because of COVID, and millions of students are stuck in a state of ambiguity. Confusions about careers, confusions about colleges, confusions about whether India or overseas, confusions about which course do I go forward with, confusions about what will happen. Those are questions that are on your minds, and those are questions that are on your parents' mind as well. So today we're going to try and engage Varun and Keith here in a conversation and try to understand what does the future of education, future of business, future of employment looks like in Canada. So today's session is primarily focused on Canada because Canada always consistently has been one of those destinations which promises a very high standard of living. It promises a quality education, it promises a happy life, and that's where it happens to be one of the top destinations for students to apply in, both at the undergrad and the postgrad level. So we're going to discuss about what does COVID means for Canadian education and Canadian employment. And of course, before Keith and Varun engage in that conversation, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about as well. Now, before we go on any further, I'd like to introduce our panelists to you guys. We have here with us Mr. Keith McWhirter, who's a career coach with passion to connect people to services, knowledge, and each other in order to help them achieve their goals. With a focus on innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, Keith supports students who are interested in pursuing career journeys and pivots into these industries and functional roles. Keith is a highly energetic leader and collaborative team member who thrives in environments of development and change. He has over 25 years of business development and customer relationship management experience, spanning both public and private sectors, encompassing a diverse range of industries. Keith is the Queen's Executive MBA 16 alumni and also a faculty member at the Smith School of Business in the Commerce program. Keith, welcome on board. We hope to have a very engaging conversation with you and get insights on how the Canadian education system, and especially the one at Queen's, is preparing itself for the realities of higher education and employment with the COVID scenario.
Thank you, Dipankar. Very happy to be here.
Perfect. We also have Varun here on board with us. Mr. Varun Chaubey is a software professional with over 6 years of experience across the technology industry. He completed his bachelor's in computer science and engineering from Thomas College of Engineering and went on to pursue an MBA from Smith School of Business, Queen's University. Born and brought up in Kolkata, Varun has traveled and worked in different locations in India, Europe, and North America. Currently employed as a senior consultant at Deloitte, Canada, Varun is recognized consistently by clients for business leadership and service quality turnarounds. Varun, welcome on board our discussions today. As somebody who is in the middle of pandemic and trying to consult on projects in Canada, we hope to gain a lot of insights from you today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction, Varun.
Welcome, Varun. We also have Ms. Deepa Gugnani, who is a recruitment advisor of India for Queen's University in Canada, also present here. Deepa, may I please request you to drop in a hi so that our participants note that Deepa is available, that you're available in the chat box. And if they have any admissions related questions on how the admissions for Queen's Universities work and how does the admission process works around in general, they can address those questions to you. Deepa, if you can hear me, can you please respond with a yes or a hey in the chat box so that the students can directly ask you your questions. And of course, welcome you all, welcome the Mindler team, and we are all here to help you, support you in this discussion. My name is Dipankar, and I lead the overseas education practice at Mindler. I hope that today we'll be able to engage in a very healthy conversation and discuss about what this reality of COVID brings for us. Now, the first point that I wanted to be able to make to you guys is that we understand that COVID has changed the realities, and I think all of us agree on that part. What the negativity brings along is a huge scope for disruption, is a huge scope for development, for innovation, and that's exactly what has happened, or at least that's what's happening across the world over vis-a-vis COVID. A lot of industries, education, etc., they're all trying to adapt to this new reality and ensure that continuity of these processes ensures. And that's where a lot of universities in and outside of Canada as well are trying their level best to engage with the international students. They are engaging with the students inside Canada as well, and ensuring online spectrum, they're ensuring online classes so that continuity in education is something that can be maintained. Now, one very key element that comes across is here is that while the world is going online and you have n number of webinars happening on an everyday basis, we all understand that our proficiency with technology is going to be something which is critical in the future. So as to be able to better ourselves and prepare ourselves for this new reality, one of the core areas for us to work on is that on technical literacy, is that on digital literacy. Now, whether you talk about the educational technology, the digital learning exercises such as Coursera, EDX, and other platforms, or you talk about financial technology, or you talk about legal technology, or you talk about any other technology as well. And these days, you will have n number of technologies coming in as well. So, for example, you have something called prop technology. There's something called prop tech, which is technology in the domain of property. You have something called femtech, which is for female health. You have something called clean tech, green tech, which is all towards environment. And you have something called mad tech as well, which is MAD tech, marketing and advertising technology. So technology is something which is going to be at the center of going forward in this new normal, in this new reality. And thus, it's a focus area for all of us, irrespective of our streams, irrespective of our career choices, irrespective of our college choices, to engage in, to learn. Because going forward, virtual collaboration like the one that we're having today needs to happen a lot more frequently. So when you, for example, go to college, and this year particularly, you're going to be having a lot of online classes. So engaging with your classmates, engaging with your faculty members, engaging with all the people around the campus is going to be happening digitally, or it's going to happen online. And thus, proficiency with technology is something that I welcome you all to participate in. Better yourself, partake in technology learning, participate in getting the hang of technology on how to use it and how many applications does a single technology have. At least the basic awareness needs to be there with the development of this new reality. Another trend that has come to light is the fact that a lot of careers And we all know that careers change every single day. So just because there's something happening in the market, there's a lot of automation, there's a lot of trends that happen in the world of careers. Sometimes careers are much more in demand, certain careers are much more in demand, and certain careers take a fall foot. With the new reality, there are certain careers which have been highlighted. There are certain careers which are coming to frontful now, which are getting the highlight, and certain careers which were highlighted before are now on a back foot. Now, for example, as we move forward, careers like data sciences, business analytics, data analysis also comes to life because everything around us are going to be based on data. So for us to understand those numbers, for us to understand that what does data speak, what does data tell us, becomes increasingly important. And it's not just about business, it's also about your life. Now, for example, data is something which is as critical as your own Netflix or Spotify account. How does Netflix know that basis your recommendations or basis your choice of movies or shows, these are the possible movies or shows that you would actually enjoy? That's all data. Companies will try and promote their products to you because you give them your online behavior. That's also part of data. So data is one of those elements which is going to go in the future. Psychology, mental health are also areas which are going to be there in the future because with the pandemic, a lot of people face anxiety, a lot of people are facing stress, and thus the requirements for mental health professionals, requirement for psychologists is going to go on a rise as well. Cybersecurity is another element which is going to be on a very high rise because the more we go online, the more we spend our time online, the more the need of cybersecurity needs to come in. Sometime back, there was this entire news about Zoom bombing being a real thing and Zoom not being a safe platform. So in there, the security is a huge issue. And like you mentioned, like Karthik mentioned, that cybersecurity is one of those areas which will be there upfront. Now in situations like this, where most of us are working from home, or at least we are here in our homes under lockdown, one big area that's also coming to, it's also going to be there in a very huge manner, is something called game design and game development. I know a lot of students are very excited about this one because more PUBGs, more Fortnites, yay. All right, so with the time that we're spending online, with the time that we're spending under lockdown, the requirement for game designers, game development is also something which will see a rise. E-commerce, e-retail, again, going to see a rise because we're not going to be going out for shopping as much as we used to. So for us, the process of going online and process of ordering in your essentials, etc., is going to be a very digital and a very real reality for us. The more time that we spend on social media, for example, on our Instagram, on our Facebook, on our Snapchats, etc., that's going to lead for a huge demand in content writers, social media managers, content creators. So content management, content creation, content writing, whether it's video or it's written, is going to be another area which will see a huge surge in the coming future because when we're talking about content, when we're talking about engagements on social media platforms, that's the key area for us to engage in. And of course, areas like logistics and supply chain are going to be evergreen. And this is because whenever we talk about such a situation, or for example, when we talk about e-commerce or e-retail, getting you the right product under the required time with the maximum efficiency so that you don't get delivered the wrong product under the minimum cost, all of those are important considerations. So we're going to be talking a lot more about logistics and supply chain as a possible career after the pandemic, which is going to see a huge rise. And of course, there's one career which is going to be at the center of it. And I'm sure Varun will agree for this, and it will bring a huge smile on his face, which is consulting. Because all of the companies need consultants to help them work out and understand how do they adapt to this new reality of agility, how will they adapt to this new reality of uncertainty, and that's where the role of consulting comes in. So those are some industries or some functions which will see a rise in the future. Of course, these are not exhaustive. These are just suggestive in nature. And a lot more careers, a lot more industries, a lot more functions need to be watched out because any day the need for such careers may also arise. Now, on the flip side of this, there are certain careers which in the next 12 to 14 months, so they are not going to be affected for all eternity. They're only going to be slightly affected for the next 12 to 14 months only. So for example, areas like travel and tourism, areas like arts and entertainment, areas like aviation, they are going to be mostly affected in the next 12 to 14 months because of the obvious reasons that we all need to be socially distant and we need to observe social distancing in most cases. Likewise, food industry, restaurants, cafes, food delivery services, all of them are going to take a slight hit. Areas such as manufacturing. Now, manufacturing, the most sense will keep on going in some or the other manner. We hope that manufacturers across the country, they keep on producing goods and services, and they simultaneously observe social distancing as well. But manufacturing is an area which is under a lot of question mark right now. So that's an area which might be affected a little bit. Areas such as entrepreneurship, not the right time to pursue entrepreneurship because you need a lot of areas, you need a lot of resources to pursue entrepreneurship, right from venture capital to a lot of money, to right people, right teammates, to right people for PR. There has to be a lot of machinery going in entrepreneurship. So right now may not be the best time to start your venture, of course, but this is the time to start ideating, start conceptualizing. And if you have a business idea, just deep dive into it, evaluate its feasibility, and this might be the right time for you to understand and comprehend whether this idea will work or not. Likewise, construction, mining, heavy engineering, there are some areas which will take a slight hit in the next 10, 12 to 14 months. But like I said, they're all transient, they're all temporary. And with the improvement in situations, these areas will get back to their they will get back to their original charm, their original glamour, which people are allured of. Now, this brings us to a question. Okay, now that we have discussed about what's going to be pluses and what's going to be minus, how do I ensure my survival? How do I ensure my relevance in this ambiguous, uncertain, unprecedented scenario? And of course, I'm going to be taking inputs from Keith and Varun on this. But just to be able to add my 2 cents on this would be upskilling and reskilling are the 2 things which we need to pursue. Whether you're a student or a parent or somebody who's a working professional, the words reskilling and upskilling need to be in your vocabulary and need to be used very often. And there are a whole lot of courses available online, offline as well, wherein you can engage in these courses and learn new skills. But that said, there are a few areas which I would say are important for everyone to know. So whether you're a science student or a commerce student or a humanities student or a college student or a postgrad student or an MBA student, certain skills will be important for you. So the most important skill of these is number 1, to be able to engage with data. So an introductory course in data sciences, an introductory course in data analysis would be able to help you gain that proficiency. You may also engage in a course on psychology and communication because that's going to help you understand the specifics of virtual collaboration. It's going to help you understand how do you collaborate virtually, how do you collaborate with people from different backgrounds. So psychology is something which I would recommend take an introductory course on that. And I would also recommend that take an introductory course on computers programming. Now, I'm not asking you to become a full-blown ethical hacker or just pursue multiple languages. I'm saying pursue one language so that if the need arises, you can at least develop a basic website to get your work out. And this brings me to my next point, which is in today's age, what you demonstrate is going to be a proof of your merit. So have that portfolio, have that website, have that file, have that program ready to show the world, because what you say versus what you show are 2 different realities now. Now, people may not have the right kind of time to interview 2,000 applicants, but they will remember the applicant who sent them a portfolio link before that, you know what, see the programs that I've done, see the files I've downloaded, see the programs I've created, and basis this, judge me if I belong to your college or not. And lastly would be communication skills. I can't harp on this enough because communication skills are important, and these are even more important in the current context because they are going to be very, very important. So communications with machines, communication with people, communication with data, and communication also with written abilities, they're all going to be important. So these 3-4 are the critical areas which I would recommend that whether you are somebody who's at any stage of life, you need to be engaging in such activities and you will need to be able to work on these areas so as to get the basic precedent right. With that, I invite Keith and Varun, please share your thoughts on the topic and what do you think about how the higher education spectrum is going to change, what are the requirements of skill building, what are the requirements of upskilling and reskilling, and what would your advice be to applicants who are considering Canada as the choice of their study?
Okay, that's a lot. Varun, do you want to take all that? No, I'm kidding.
You can start, Keith.
You want me to start?
I'll get on back to you. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, thank you very much. There's a lot of information there. Dipankar, awesome job. I wish I had your energy. Mind you, it's early for me, and that's why. So again, thanks everyone for letting us partake in this. My name is Keith McQuarter, Smith School of Business at Queen's University. So yeah, there's lots of things we can talk about. So I've got some slides, and if that's okay, I'm going to share some of these pieces, Dipankar, if I can do that.
Absolutely, please go ahead.
Cool. Okay. So here, let me figure out how technology works here. Okay. Start presentation. And start. Okay.
Perfect.
So again, thank you everyone. So there's a lots going on and lots to unpack. So I've sort of broken this. These aren't a lot of slides. I'm just going to go for a few minutes before I'll let Varun jump in and give his insight. So I can talk about what I know, what I've seen in Canada, and how we're preparing for students and recommendations for students. I coach students on entrepreneurship, innovation, technology, operations, and supply chain. That's my shtick. But Varun's on the receiving end of that. He was actually one of the students I worked with during his time. So he can talk a bit more of the specific experiences, and Deepa can answer your questions specifically around Queen's University, things like scholarships, undergrad applications, and so forth. So my role is just to talk a bit about what we're seeing in the Canadian market. And I will certainly echo many of Dipankar's comments on skills you should be working on. So what is happening right now? The pandemic has changed a lot, the world for sure. What does that look like in Canada? So what we've seen, if you sort of think of it like a bell curve, we have seen some areas get hit bad. We've seen some areas take off and increase, and seen some areas that there is more of a shift. So when I think about that, it's the so things like, honestly, consulting. Actually, and Varun can speak to this. On some areas of consulting, actually, it's been down. We see, and there's hiring has slowed in some areas, but if it's in human capital, so what do I do with the 2,000 employees who all now work at home? That type of consulting is still very is keeping people busy. Digital transformation. I need to move all my coursework. I need to install a virtual engagement platform. So those types of areas have increased. CPG, consumer product goods. So food, consumables have been very, very popular. So we've got some food manufacturers, Loblaws, Kraft Heinz, Labatt's in Canada, very busy. Amazon, operations, really busy. They are building. I mean, in Canada alone, they've hired. Well, they were planning on hiring 100,000 people. I think they ended up hiring around 500,000 across North America in those areas. In other areas, we've seen a shift. So in the finance markets, in banks, capital markets will have taken a bit of a slowdown. To Bunker's point on startups and entrepreneurship, that piece a bit declined. Risk management is huge. So that's where a bit of a shift. Still odd jobs there, but a bit of a shift. And so a couple of the pieces that I wanted to build on his comments with regards to skill sets. Flexibility is huge. There are some upskilling, absolutely. If you can get a few of those skills increased, you can do them through many different services. You can add them to your LinkedIn profile. People are going to see that you have been keeping busy, that you're not an expert, you're not going to be a coder, but you do understand some of the languages. You understand what analytics software is out there and why someone would want to use it. Flexibility is huge as well. Your next job is not your last job, and that's okay. Accept that. Getting in the door at some place is a key thing to do. Be a problem solver for companies. The career path, especially in North American market, is the best description I say is there's a ladder, but it's not a ladder. It's not a direct line. It's more of a lattice. So you think of a thing that a vine creeps up. And it can go in many different directions, sometimes sideways, sometimes backwards occasionally, and that's okay. Get in the door, because a lot of the jobs in Canada, which will take me to my third point, are through word of mouth, through networking. in North America, 70% of jobs are not posted. So how do you get those? And that goes to Dipankar's other point, communication. For students looking at breaking into this market, networking is a huge, huge piece. Networking, this will be strange, networking is not job search. Networking is about relationship building, and that is key. It's not contacting someone to have them help you find a job, or what do you need to do to get the job. It's finding out how that person is doing. What has the pandemic done to you in the consulting world, or you in the finance world? How have you been successful? What kind of things are working for you? And that's kind of information that you can adopt. And now you've got yourself on their radar, as we call it. You're in the pipeline. They're aware of you. So when hiring starts to ramp up in some areas, you're a known quantity. So I can talk for hours about that. I have a whole class on it. But networking and doing outreach is a big, big part of success in the Canadian and North American market. A little closer to home. So what does the pandemic look like for Kingston? I mean, Kingston, again, a bit of a plug for Kingston, Ontario, Canada. We're very lucky where there's different ranges of what the COVID pandemic has affected the world. Some very disastrous, and heart goes out to people around the world struggling. Kingston, since January, for the greater Kingston area, and there's probably 200,000 people if you look at the larger area, small by Indian standards, I know. Since January, we've had 100 cases. Currently, 0 cases, 0 people in the hospital, nobody has died here. So we're very, very lucky. We've got a wonderful, we've taken it very, very seriously. So it's a very safe place to be. Current MBA students we have at Queen's University at Smith School of Business are actually going back into the classroom. We've made arrangements for them. So it's an excellent spot. So it's different in every pocket of Canada is going to be a bit different. But Kingston's a spot that we're having great success in. So that's sort of what the pandemic has done to Canada. So now what does this look like from the student side of things, and how are we, so thinking about what we're doing for job search and student engagement. A lot of people asking about what online classes are going to look like. I'll just click on my button here. So this is how we're supporting students right now. So it is online course delivery. So every commerce student, so the first year students coming into our programs, excuse me, are going to be online for at least till January. First year students will be online for the entire year. Mostly with our school and with others, it's because we have residences. Students come and live on campus, and obviously we can't have multiple folks in a room in residences. So the residences are reduced now to just single rooms, which then limits availability. So that limits how many people can actually come on campus and make sure we are maintaining safe social distancing. We do not want to rush our return to normal because we do not want to have a spike here in Canada, especially in Kingston. We have moved to an asynchronous and synchronous delivery course material. So when we do go online, it's not just someone talking for 2 hours at you. I'm sure I'm very boring to people after several hours of talking. It's being much more respectful of the students and where you are. The fact that Zoom can be exhausting after several hours and having your attention. So breaking it up into smaller chunks, having a lot of breakout sessions, having a lot of interactivity, very, very engaging. I would say classes online might even be more engaging, excuse me, than they were before. Having the classes run at different time in Canada. So I will have students this year. I'll be teaching in China, in India, in Vancouver. Even within Canada, we can be 4 hours away from each other. So we're going to be very, very flexible with when courses are run too. So international students can all participate both asynchronously and synchronously. And again, shifting into much more smaller chunks of information to initiate discussion. It's not just a lecturer, professor standing up in front of a bunch of people doing it, the same thing on screen. It's going to be more interactive. What we're doing for hiring of students and getting people into to jobs, all of our recruiting events, we used to have 100 different employers, consulting firms, finance shops, banks, CPG come to campus to do recruiting and hiring. So that is all now virtual. But we've got some wonderful platforms that are going to help run those events, that are going to allow for larger info sessions like we're doing right now, to one-on-one coffee chats, we call them, networking sessions with industry partners, Online career coaching. Right now, I coach across 16 different programs, almost 2,000 students at the School of Business. We're doing that all virtually, the same way And again, coaching is up. So we're actually having more engagement now that we've gone online because we've tailored it to the students. And we're also working a lot with students with our corporate partners. What is happening out there? People assume there are no jobs, or this may have been affected, this hasn't been affected. We are actively working with industry partners to find out what is happening, who is hiring, what's the timeline, and getting that information to our students on a weekly basis so they are fully engaged. So again, it's not a decline in anything, it's just a shift on how we do things. In some areas, people miss that face-to-face, so that's a downside. On some other areas, because it's virtual, because it's instantaneous, and it can be viewed anytime you wish, engagement's actually increased, and we're actually having some more increased successes in some areas with internships and job landings. So before I jump it off to throw it off to Varun to talk about more on the student perspective, I just wanted to share a couple of slides that we've gotten from some of our students as advice for students coming to Canada. And these are from Commerce students we've gotten. I'll let you read through it. Again, this is really about the thought process on this one. The feeling behind it is explore and let your ambitions resolve. So be flexible. What do you really want? Keep checking in with yourself and be open to new possibilities. We have a lot of students that come here and they get focused on one thing and almost dig a bit of a hole because they can't get into what they want and they're not open to other opportunities. Really be open to those possibilities. Another slide from a student we had was, the lesson of going out, putting yourself out there and being creative, and taking every single opportunity that you possibly can. Always have a goal, always be working towards something, and always have one thing you're appreciative of every day. We talk about your why, your how, and your what. Make sure you're true to your why, who you are as a person. And the final one I'll leave you with is, again, you are going to be surrounded by so many different people. As an international student, we have so many around the world. So we have 600 first-year students coming in just to the business school this year. 100 of them will be international students. So we pride ourselves on that diversity and inclusion piece. And expand your network, as I mentioned before, and as Dipankar talked about, communication skills are so important. Learning online is one thing, and that's a skill that you need to learn and be comfortable with. But building relationships online, getting your personality through this little blue dot on your screen, that is a new skill that employers are looking for, and a skill that you're going to want to build on to succeed and make the most of your education on the international stage. That's all I will say right now. I could go on for hours, but I won't. I want my friend Varun to have an opportunity to talk about his experience from the student perspective. Varun?
Yeah, thanks, Keith, and thanks, Dipankar. I mean, the kind of things that you've already touched upon are pretty important, and everything that you've said is something that the current batch and the upcoming batches should take note of. Well, for me, the kind of experience that I'm going to share today, I think would be more, in line with what our participants want to hear, is because I'm a person who, transitioned from a place. Well, I worked in different locations globally, but coming from India to Canada and, pursuing a higher degree here, I went through the entire cycle of those financial aids, trying to learn what to do, what not to do in Canada, how the people are and all. So I'll take that logically, starting from how I started, how I ended up being at Canada. So, I worked in the technology sector as a software developer for over 5.5 years, right? And I got the opportunity to work in India as well as in Switzerland, and because I was working for a Swiss bank, right? So I was traveling here and there, and when I went out, I understood that it is, if you want to work in a company or in a setting which is global in nature, you have to understand that the mindset of people outside of your place is totally different. So in India, if you think that, okay, solution to a particular problem would be, say, 3 sets of solutions. If you find out those 3 sets of solutions for a particular problem might not be feasible in a different geography, they might not want it. it's about what is accepted there and what not. And for that, you need to go out and learn, right? And having learned that while at work, okay, that was important, that was understandable. But I thought that if I had known this before, if I had studied outside, that would have been a different experience altogether. I would have been prepared to deal with the problems that I was having at that point in time. So after a certain period of time, I decided to pursue my MBA or MS. So these were the two options that I had at that point in time. And computer science happened to me not by luck, not by chance, but by choice. I really like coding, and this is one of my hobbies as well. Whenever I get time, I go on and do some competitive coding in lead code, if a few of you know or not. And I would stress upon this particular point that digital literacy at this point in time is very, very important. It's not about knowing like core skills about digital coding and stuff. What you need to understand is that you have to be comfortable enough with the terminologies, with the things that are being used, right? So just go on, do some introductory courses on Udemy, Coursera, and learn about those things. Okay, we'll talk about this. We'll come back to this, and let me go through the journey again. So when I came back, I realized at this point in time, since I already have an experience in development and tech, why shouldn't I go and do an MBA, right? And definitely at that point in time, I knew that I'm going to do my next degree outside of India because I wanted to learn how people think. Now, I had the experience in Europe, right? And I had also gotten the experience in India. So I wanted to learn how North America works because I hadn't worked with them before. And when you think about higher studies, when you think about settling down somewhere, you always have to keep in mind what are the possibilities in future, right? And there, I cannot stress upon this fact more that you have to do due diligence before going out. You have to understand where you're going, and I'll talk about how to do that. But for me, then I decided that MBA is a very lucrative choice in India. When you do MBA, you kind of are set for life, and there are things that you can achieve with which you cannot if you do not have an MBA degree. When I did that, when I came back in Canada, I realized that that is not just the case. MBA is one of the most sought after degrees for sure, but you have other options too. You have other options too, and those things, for instance, bachelor's, MS, and everything, which Queens also provides. You have to do your due diligence and find the skills that you have, right? Find all the skills that you have and see whether those skills fit in that particular geography or not. Right? And this is the due diligence you should do before coming up. Now, when I came here, I had this. A lot of people have asked about the financing and how to. What about loans? What about financial aid and stuff? For me, I was also taken aback, and this question kind of haunted my mind because the cost of education is pretty expensive out here, right? So how do we manage that, right? I would tell you there are so many ways that you just need to go out and look after. One obviously is merit-based scholarship, which Queens does provide, and Deepa has kind of touched upon it. But how do you get that? So there are exams that you take, and there are particular admission processes that you go through, and you'll get more information about that from Deepa. And I implore, I push you to do that because more information you have, the better place you are at, to reach out to those things. The second thing is a financial aid in forms of loans. So I would say there are a lot of opportunities in India. If you have, a mortgage, you can go for a student loan there. However, there are things like Prodigy Finance. You can reach out to them and they provide you loans in 7 days. I got my loan in 7 days. And once you arrive here, right, in Canada, and once you get in a job, you'll pay that off maybe in 3 years, 4 years max tops, and then and that also very easily. Depends on the kind of job you're doing, right? And also to complement that, there are a lot of opportunities that students have when they come to Canada. While studying, they can do that work and manage their day-to-day. So financing is not one of the more troubling things that you should care about. Definitely, you should always set it up upfront. But there are a lot of ways. That is what I wanted to mention. And don't worry about that. Next comes coming to Canada and the experience. People here are just next to amazing. I tell you, I have had friends who have come from US. They tell me that Canada, Keith being one of them, I mean, the warmth that they give you is just unparalleled to other places. Yeah, Europe is also nice, but they see you as more of more as people who come in there for travel purposes and stuff, right? They don't see you as long term, uh, what I would say, occupants on those particular places. Canada welcomes you with both hands open, and people here are very warm, and they help you to understand your skills, to understand and develop the skills that you require in Canadian culture as well. So when I came here, that was a very important change, and to me, because I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that degree of warmth. And I tell you, Queen's University and the staff, including Keith here, is just amazing. And this is my personal experience. Uh, I kept on harping about this throughout my journey. Every time I had a problem, be it personal, be it professional, these guys are there to help you out. They'll always take your call. Their door is always open. You just need to be mindful sometimes that they might be helping out other people as well. But this is what they do, and that is something which I kind of unknowingly, I didn't know about this particular aspect of Queen's University when I came in, but that's just amazing. The next thing was to understand what Queen's University provides you. Now, we did talk about communication, we did talk about technology skills and everything, right? Queen's prepares you for that. I can talk about the MBA program, but MBA program because I have the first-hand experience there. But I also, while interacting with undergrads and people in doing some other degrees, masters, I got in touch with them during some co-curricular activities, and the feedback was kind of similar. So I wanted to understand what they are feeling like. Are they getting any support? How's the how are the courses? How are the professors? So the I tell you, the professors here, they do go out and teach in one of the world's best universities. Few of my professors went to teach in IIM as well. So I am Canada, I am Calcutta, I am Ahmedabad. So these people are world class teachers, world class professors. So you don't have to worry about all those things. And the fact that they help you prepare in a way that you so let me put it this way. When you come to a different place, you don't know how corporate structure works there. So it's important for you to go through that process where you realize, okay, these are the things I should do and these are the things I should work on, and obviously the things that you shouldn't do. So for that, you will be best prepared if you come here and do a course and then join the workforce. If you come here directly, you might fall into trap, or you might do some things which might not be suitable for you or good for you for your future. So that way, you are kind of very prepared until unless you are very experienced and have had experience over all the world, and then you come here and you do your work. That's a different thing altogether. But for undergrads, a kind of undergrads or people who are just starting up their career, it's important to have an education out here. And I tell you, the way Queen's prepares their students is just amazing. Now, there were a few points that I wanted to touch upon. So this was about the journey, and now came the job search. So the most important thing at the end for me and for students coming out from India and other places is what kind of jobs you get and what's the job market here. So let me give you a real time scenario. The job market obviously won't be, there are a lot of people coming in here. There are a certain number of jobs, and it depends on how many people are applying to it, right? So you have to do a bit of struggle there. But the struggle will be because it is not in the way India provides you jobs. It's different here. It's different because here you need to network. It's different here because you need to get into people's good books, and that networking doesn't happen on a particular day. You have to start talking to them and follow up. It's not necessary that that person is going to give you the job or that person is going to give you an interview right away, but that person might help you going forward in your career, say 2 years from now or 3 years from now, because these are influential people. And Canadian corporate culture is so small that you're bound to meet each other sometime or the other. I mean, you say next year or in the 2 years from now on, you'll find your next employer has to be your first networking person. So this is very important. And once you grab that thing, once you understand that how to do that network, how to keep that connection going on, it'll be very easy for you to find a job with respect to people who have not done that, right? Having said that, I would tell you one thing is very important. Any kind of job that you get into, it is important for you to learn the core skills for those jobs. And this is possible for you because of this digital era, that you can do it from the warmth of your sofa bed, right, at your home. You can just go on Coursera, you can go on Udemy and learn those things out and go there. I tell you, this gives you the edge. People, yes, there are people who do career switches and it is difficult for them. Think of it in a way that me being a professional, I have a particular requirement, right? And I want some people to work for me. I would definitely want some people who have experience in that field, because I don't have to train them. I save my money. So think about it that way. You have to develop those core skills to be upfront and get the bang for your money. Now I have talked about this entire process and journey for me, starting from financing, starting from finalizing college, and then how I did my job search. This is exactly the way I did my job search, and I started working in March. I was one of the people who got the I was very lucky to get the job very early into the end of my MBA program. I grabbed it in October, and in December we ended. So I had some time to go back to India and enjoy with my family. But I tell you, this networking piece that our friends Dipankar and Keith talked about is one of the most important things that is you should focus on if you want to work outside of India. Now we have talked about a lot of things already. Let's do one thing. We have a set of questions there on the right hand side in the chat box, and I see people asking them again and again. So it's and given the time, we have only 30 minutes left. Dipankar, we should make it more of a discussion-based presentation and answer those questions. What do you say? You're on mute, Dipankar. Cannot hear you.
Dipankar. Oh, you're on mute. Nope.
Oops, we cannot hear you. Okay, Keith, we can start taking some questions, right? While Dipankar is trying to.
Okay, let's roll through these. What do universities look for in commerce students? Actually, I just posted an answer in there. That actually is a link to the website that actually has the brochure on it. There's a couple of pieces. It's very competitive, quite frankly. The process when we go through it, and I'm very fortunate to be on one of the committees that helps select the students. So we'll get 20,000 people applying to come to Smith. We let in about 500 each year. From those 20,000, we usually do a review of grades, and for Canadian standards, around an average of approximately 87% is what's required. It depends on every year. It depends on who's applying. Some years it might be 86. Some years it might be 91. That takes us down to around 5,000 people, and from 5,000 to 500, there's what's called a personal experience statement. There's an essay you write as to why you want to come, and what do you offer, what's your value proposition, if you will, and a personal story as well. And we read every one of those twice. 2 different people read them, and then that's how we go from 5,000 to 500. And from those stories, we're looking for people that it's not just about the academics. It's about your social involvement, your extracurriculars, what you're hoping to get out of it. What are you going to contribute to the school while you're here on a personal level? Sometimes as a leader, sometimes as a team person who's a teammate who's supporting others. We really want to have a diverse, inclusive, engaging, collaborative culture here at Smith. So that's what we look for when we do that final selection piece. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. You want to grab the next one up there?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So some of our friends have asked about, it's about cybersecurity and about different programs at Queen's. So I would tell you, we just have limited time here and we cannot touch upon all the programs. But the best way to do this is find someone on LinkedIn. Go over LinkedIn. If you don't have a profile, create a profile, put a nice picture there, and it should be very formal. Just quick tips for you that you'll obviously get to learn from the your master's programs as well. I hope, Keith, I'm not giving away all the secrets, but just quick tips.
You go to Varun's LinkedIn. He's a rock.
Just go on LinkedIn, have a very formal and a good picture, and write a very I would say compact bio, and then reach out to people. Right, reach out to people, search for these people who have worked or had experience in those degrees that or colleges or locations that you're mentioning here, and you ask them what experience they've had, and then I would tell you, just don't ask one person. Try asking 3 or 4 people. I tell you, when you go on LinkedIn, you feel that people might not respond, but there are so many warm people out there. They would definitely respond, and they'll give you the first-hand experience, right? And just don't. I would push you to not just talk to one person, as I said. Talk to multiple people. That is one way of doing it. Reach out to those universities, these universities. Deepa would definitely help you with all the questions that you have regarding Queens. So reach out to Deepa. She would point you, if she cannot, I know that she will be able to answer all the questions that you have, but she would also be able to point you in a direction, or some alumni who can answer even better, who can give you the first-hand experience. And this is the beauty about Queens. And they don't hold back and say, okay, you have to talk in my presence with my students. And this is what we are doing. I mean, you can talk to me. If you want to ask anything about MBA or MS or tech-based studies, you can just reach out to me, and I'll be able to help you in due time. So this is one of the ways of doing it. A second question someone asked me is about, and that was more about. Okay, so you're talking about these questions regarding IELTS and stuff. This is very pointed. I mean, there are no 2 different answers to this. So you can just reach out to the admissions team, and they'll be able to answer you. Regarding the condition and the student visas, last time I checked, and correct me guys if I'm wrong, the visas are not being provided at the moment, right? Just because of the COVID and the exceptional situation. But I tell you, when things get better, and Canada would definitely be on top of those countries when things get better, this country will be the first to open that. Because the way they have handled the situation, so I'll give you just a very practical reason. USA, the population density in areas is pretty high, and this is not the case with Canada. Yeah, density in certain areas is high, but there is a big geographical gap between major cities, and that helped Canada in a way to manage this pandemic in a better way than its contemporaries in North America, right? So that way, as Keith also mentioned, there are no cases in Kingston, and the other places are also getting better slightly. In fact, you will be surprised to know that we have opened restaurants for in-room dining as well with proper precautions. So that is the condition out here. So don't worry about the future. Right now, if just do your due diligence, understand what courses you need to take, because these things like visa and everything, they will be same for everyone, and you definitely get that update either from our university staff or online. So Keith, you want to take the next one? Dipankar, you are still not audible.
Yeah. So again, there's been a few questions on entry and service. I've posted information about Kingston. I've posted some information on international students for Queens, and also had a question around commerce, so I posted that link to that information as well too. And again, Queens overall admission side, Deepa would be the best resource for that. I've also posted my LinkedIn profile, so if someone wants to ask me a specific question, again, my area is School of Business at Queens. So on the Canada overall piece, I wouldn't want to give you misinformation. How do you know you're choosing the right career for you?
I was also seeing that. Very interesting question.
Okay, it's awesome.
Take a stab at that. I'll talk about it.
Okay. What I go back to, if I would recommend, if you haven't watched already, the gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, Sinek, Simon, and he talks about starting with why. So everyone has, what you do. So you're a consultant. How do you do it? Well, are you collaborative? Are you very analytical? What is your approach to that work? How do you do the what you do? But before all of that, where you want to start is why. And this is the thing that most people have instilled in them at a fairly early age, usually around age 16 or earlier. Why do you get out of bed every day? When you're having your best day ever, what kind of impact are you having? And start forming that into sort of a concept, and then you're looking for jobs that allow you to do that. It could be any job, as long as it's allowing you to. My passion is having social impact and making a positive change in people's lives every day. So I will look for jobs, and that could be a whole list of jobs. My statement is I connect people with services, knowledge, and each other so they can succeed, and do the same for others. I do that through coaching, I do that through teaching, and I do that through my volunteer work in Rotary. That's how I do that every day. But that could change. But it's always going to be true to my why statement. That's how you know you're on the right track for a job or career. Varun, what do you think?
Okay, I was just answering all the questions. Just let me finish. Okay, so yep, very important question. Very, very important question. Okay, so what particular job profile or corporate career that you want to go forward with after a certain year of experience. For me, after certain years of experience, you understand what works for you and what not, and where you want to see. So this question comes up a lot as to where you want to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years. But me as a student, I used to get bogged down by this, and I sometimes irritated. I don't even know what my next day would look like. I don't even know where would I go for study. How would I say what would I do in 5 to 10? But then I realized this is a thinking that kind of develops in your mind. When you start to know your strengths, then you start to draw a logical step-by-step process, draw a logical step-by-step future for you, growth for you, and then you think, okay. So, for instance, I want to be a good coder. I want to work in the top company of the world. Now, where is the top company situated at? Is it in USA? Is it in Canada? Is it in Europe? What are the possibilities to go there? And to do that, do I need to go through certain degrees, or do I need to go through a particular university for that matter? Yes. Then those things start falling in that place, and you start doing during that period you realize more and more that okay, this is something that you want to do. If in that process you realize, okay, this is something which is too much exhausting for me and I'm not enjoying it anymore, you should make an instant switch. For me, I understood it better after talking to a lot of people and understanding what is happening around these places. And if say for instance, if I want to do MBA and I want to go in strategy, say not strategy but operations, I would talk to a person and ask them what is the reality behind operation, right? You tell me how difficult was it for you, find a job, and how your day-to-day experiences, how your day-to-day work life looks like, and that gave me an idea whether I see myself in that place or not. So talk to people, express your interests, right? And then you do that over a period of time, and you would realize what you want to do, and then choose the correct degree. Don't choose the degree to get placed in a particular place, because you might end up in a high-paying job, but that might not be sustainable, right? So think about it. Think about yourself first, and then go ahead. Fee structures again. This would be something which Deepa could answer. So just consolidate those questions, guys, and reach out to Deepa. Future of aviation is bright, and it's going to be important, particularly for the situation that we are in. And to tell you, globally, the number of pilots that we have is pretty less, and definitely this would be important for you to understand that this is a very committed field. If you get into that, be sure that you want to do it. And obviously, this is going to flourish because of the current situation. Keith, do you have a different view?
Keith and Varun, I hope you can hear me
Yeah,
now.
we can.
Oh yes, yes, it's all good.
Perfect. So there's
All good.
like a little bit of bandwidth issues with the rain happening outside. So I think I'm just going to keep my video off
Okay.
and just try and be audible for everyone. So thank you so much for those excellent insights. I think there are a lot of questions just flying past, future of event management, of course, and other areas as well. So guys, what we need to understand is that every career, whether it's HR or it's event manager, it's something else altogether, they all went through a life cycle. Just because there's a pandemic out there, these careers are not going anywhere. They just might come to a little bit of a lull, but that lull is also going to go on a high right now. Okay, so I would say thank you so much, Keith, and thank you so much, Varun, for the excellent insights. I do want to ask one final question of you guys, which is now that we've spoken so much about students coming to Canada and the life for students, what is your advice for parents? What should they consider while deciding on whether Queens and Canada and the kind of precautions that you guys are taking? What kind of advice would you have for parents?
Keith, do you want to start?
You go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So-
I can. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So for me, what I would say is it is important not to go into too much history because things are changing. For parents, but because if you want to, think about your offsprings going outside, there are so many concerns that you have in your mind, and you start doing research and you go too much into the history, right? And that would be a wrong thing at the moment. It is important to understand how the world is changing and think about the last few years and then what is going to happen in the next few years. So that frame should change. It shouldn't be all history, but how the companies, how the universities are doing at this point in time is very important. And to get a feel of that, you have to reach out, right? Reach out and do your due diligence over internet, and all the information is available. Try segregating that, number one. And number two, I would say if you have the opportunity somehow, right now it's not possible, try to visit these places, because you might hear a lot of things about these universities and whatnot over internet. All of that might not be correct, right? So if you can visit these places, talk to people by yourself. A personal touch is required, or over internet, that's also fine, and do that work and understand. When you go through that cycle, you kind of understand which particular university clicks with you, right? And which would take care of your children in a better way. So those are the two things that I want to say.
Perfect, Varun.
Yeah, and I would echo
Anything
that.
you'd like to add?
I echo that completely. I've got a 21-year-old son myself, so I can appreciate as a parent, you want them to be happy. That's it. I mean, healthy and happy. So when they're coming to school and keep your options open. Some students come in, they have to do this. I have to get into finance, or I'm not going to make people happy, or that's what I always need to do. And there's sometimes can be a struggle where students will take new courses, they'll see new things, and maybe they're not drawn towards the area that they thought they were going to be doing at their parents' behest. So give your children the opportunity to explore opportunities themselves and grow. The jobs that they may have when they graduate might not even exist yet in certain areas like technology. So be open to that. And there's just being in a new country and being at a university is going to be a learning experience in and of itself. So embrace that and welcome it, and just keep them healthy and happy.
Perfect. And that sounds like an excellent input from you, Keith. I think the interaction today was very, very interactive. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Varun, for keeping it alive. Thank you for joining us this evening. I think it's very early for you guys in the morning, but you still made time, so appreciative of that. Thank you so much, Deepa, for answering all the questions in chat box about admissions to Queens. Thank you, Mindnet team, for answering the remaining questions. And of course, thank you to all of you who came online on time. Trust me, punctuality is a skill that's appreciated both in the personal and professional world. So keep up the great job, and just keep healthy. Just all the very best. Please take care of yourself, and remember that it's an uncertain time, but it can always be overcome. There will be a situation where we'll be able to stabilize all that's going on right now, and we will be able to take firm decisions. And as an organization, Mindler is committed to making you empowering you with the right knowledge, the right credentials, the right information, so that you make those career decisions for yourself. So if you have any kind of questions that you want to be able to ask us about yourself, about your career choices, about your color choices, please feel free to write to us at hello@mindler.com. The email ID is being posted in your chat boxes at the moment. So you may please write to us, and we'll be able to answer all of the questions for you. If you want to be able to ask a question about Queen's University or about Canada, we'll be happy to connect you to Keith, Varun, and Deepa as well. So have a great evening, everyone. Keith and Varun, I know it's early for you, so have a great day ahead. And all the very best. Please take care of yourselves. Wear a mask when outside, and let's just all be very, very happy, and let's all of this just flow down. Take care, everyone. Very good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
It was wonderful.
Great job,
Bye-bye.
Dipankar. Thanks, Keith.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Eating it, Varun. Looking good, buddy.
Talk to you later. You too. Always young.